Incoming chat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome one more time to Incoming Chat, our H2H business communication podcast by Live Chat. And today I have a very special guest, Akeem Branford. Akeem, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Marcos. I really appreciate this.
Just to have a little context, I met Akeem in LinkedIn. He's an expert resume builder. And the first thing I asked him, it was so you can help me with my CV? He's like, no, I do resumes. And to be honest, I am ignorant and I didn't know the difference at all. So, but before we get into the difference and what are the best practices, Akeem, just give us a little bit of your background, like how you become a resume builder.
Oh, sure. Well, first and foremost, my name is Akeem Branford. I'm a master resume writer based in Trinidad in the Caribbean. I've been writing resumes for about 14 years now. I wrote my first resume when I was in my early 20s, and I just did it for fun. I wrote resumes for my classmates, my siblings, my friends, and I saw that people were really being very successful with them. Right? Apparently, all most people need is just the opportunity to be interviewed, and they'd be able to take it from there. So, it's just something that I grew into over the years, and then, as of about 5 or 6 years ago, I did the master resume writer title. So I have that now, and it's really fun interacting with people and making sure that they have the tools necessary to at least get their foot in the door to get their dream jobs.
That's amazing because you are like, I was going through your career and you've been basically everywhere in HR. I mean, you know all the ins and outs of what to do in HR. So I really find it super cool that you decided to hire. Well, you know what? I'm going to help people with their resumes. Now,
Yes,
this is my question right now. What is the difference between a resume and a CV?
Right. Very good you'd ask that because people tend to use the words interchangeably. But a CV or curriculum vitae is a document, a very detailed document. This is supposed to basically encapsulate your education, your qualifications, your career history, and a lot of other ancillary things about you. So if you have publications, if you have academic pieces, if you are everything that makes you who you are professionally. So a CV can be well over 3, 4, 5, up to the biggest CV I ever worked with was 30 pages.
30.
30, yes. A CV can be up to 30 pages because if you're a very senior doctor, there are things in a doctor's resume, in a doctor's CV, that needs to be there in terms of the type of surgeries, in types of, all the things with their career. It takes up a lot of space. So a CV can be, it can be like a little booklet, so to speak, right? However, a resume is a summary of that. So a resume is meant to give you the Cliff Note version of a CV. So CVs are kind of becoming outdated, but some companies still ask for it because they want to know as much as possible about you in order to make an informed hiring decision. So a resume really shortens that and tends to be the more modern document that would be used.
So it really depends maybe in the profession, right? Like you said, doctors will definitely need one of those.
Yes, doctors, lawyers, people in academia, those type of positions, type of career, really require a CV versus a resume.
Now, when you start with a resume, is it as simple as just, all right, I have my CV, or I know what I've done, I'm just going to put it in short, or you have it has to have a different language in there?
Well, a CV and a resume are both living, breathing documents. These are documents that must always be edited, tweaked very often to suit the context that you're applying for. Given my experience over the last 14 years, I would know what companies look for. I don't want to call names, but there are certain companies that require different things in terms of what will attract them to call you for an interview. So it's based on experience over time. That's why it's important to hire a resume writer, because the type of knowledge we would have in terms of what certain companies look for, it's not that the regular person will know, okay, if I'm applying to this particular company, they're going to want to know, okay, how many years experience I have off the bat, who am I professionally, how many years experience I have, what are my sellable points, what are my transferable skills, what value I bring to the team. They're going to want to know these things upfront. So hire a resume writer because we know what
What to
companies look
do?
for.
And do you think? I mean,
Yeah.
I know you work with people from all around the world building the resumes, but
Yes.
what is it? A lot of cultural differences of what companies want in different
Oh,
countries?
definitely, definitely. In the Caribbean, I mean, we are known for having a lot of personality, a lot of flair, that kind of thing. So your resume can reflect that. Your resume can have things like text boxes, ribbons, slight color. I won't say it. Don't overdo the color thing, but of course you can use grays, greens, blues. You can use different colors. You can be slightly flashy, but this will not work in a North American context or Middle Eastern context or even a UK context. If you have a slightly colorful resume in the UK, they're not going to take you too seriously unless your content is that strong. So I always say, regardless of the context, your content is what is going to get you called for that interview. So, yes, there are a lot of differences in the Caribbean, a lot of flair, North America, Canada, UK. They use more ATS type resumes. If I go into ATS, that's a whole different topic, but I'm sure some people will know what ATS resumes are.
Now, one of the questions and something that you've probably seen in LinkedIn, I've seen it a lot, is when people discuss the fact of adding a photograph. You add a picture to your resume and send it. But apparently, in some other countries,
Mm.
they even tell you. I read about someone sending a resume to England with a photo, and they told them, "Can you please remove the photo because it's not legal for us to take resumes with your photo in it." Like, what's your approach? Like, what do you recommend people, or again, you sort of
Well, everything with resumes, of course, would be the Akeem Branford opinion and the Akeem Branford approach. So I'm going to ask you one question as it relates to your picture. What are you selling? Are you selling your face, or are you selling the skills that you bring to the table that they're going to pay you top dollar for? So that's all you need to ask yourself, right? It depends on what you're selling. And I'm not selling my face. I'm selling my skills. I'm selling 15 years HR experience. I'm selling all of the qualifications that I bring to the table. I'm selling everything that I can do and everything I can deliver. My face doesn't negate whether I can do the work or not. So I just often say, don't do it.
all right.
However, if you are called for an interview and you have been interviewed and it's being considered to give you a job offer and they ask you for a photo for a biodata record, that's fine. You can proceed with your picture in terms of a biodata record.
Now, when I mean, I don't want you to give all your secrets because eventually I want people to go to you when they need it. But there has to be a sort of a set of best practices that you bring in, like certain things that you feel that they're a must in a resume. Like, what will be those things?
Yes. Well, those are my secrets.
Just give me a little bit. Give me a
Definitely.
little bit.
No, no, of course, I always tell my clients it's always very important to have the word value at the forefront of your mind. What value are you bringing to this employer? Let's remember that we're in a pandemic. Competition is quite stiff. A lot of people are unemployed. So you're competing with the best of the best now than before. So you need to ensure that everything you speak about relates to the value that you can add to this company, to this employer, because that's what people want to hear. That's what a hiring manager wants to hear, that they have hired the best person who can add value to whatever team you're supposed to join in the organization. So once you keep that at the forefront of your mind when you're writing your resume, your language will follow that. So a perfect resume for me, I want to know who you are off the bat because it's just going to take me 6 seconds to decide if I want to meet you or not. That's the point of a resume. I just want to decide if I want to meet you or not. So within the first 6 seconds, I must know several things. who you are, what you're good at, what level you're at in your career, what you bring to the table. I want to know your skill. I want to see a proper skills bank on this resume. I want to see relevant work history. I don't want to know that you won Mr. Community 2021. I want to know what accounting ledgers you can do. What I want to know the skills and the value that you can bring to the table.
I forgot to ask you this before, but how many pages will you recommend the resume should be?
An international resume really should be 1 to 2 pages. That is, anything more than 2 pages is an overkill because look at it from the HR manager or the hiring manager's point of view. When we send out a vacancy ad and we get thousands of resumes, do you think we're going to sit and read your 10-page resume?
Sadly not.
Right. Yeah, so keep it short, keep it punchy, keep it professional. Make sure your fonts are professional. Fancy text is a complete no-no. So yeah.
Um, what about emails? Would you recommend people to get a
Email.
professional email address or?
Definitely the naming convention that works for email would be your first name dot your last name at whatever engine you choose. So you can not have the hot sexy girl 80 at Hotmail. We cannot use that for now. We can keep that for your personal email address, but for your resume, your first name, your last name at whatever engine you choose works. If you want to put initials, that's fine. But just be mindful of that email address. You would not believe how important something like that can be to a resume.
That's actually funny story. My resume still is my name plus a famous brand of alcohol, and I had I had that for years. And the good thing is that this brand is not really famous, or it's not really. It could
Oh,
go through. So people say, "Oh, that's an interesting email." Like, yeah, sure.
right. Okay
No,
then.
I'll definitely gonna take that advice for sure, Akeem. And one of the things that when you were mentioning, giving value, you giving things. So a lot of people put in that because we get CVs and resumes here for when people wants to work with us in live chat, and I get to read some of those, and I see a lot of hobbies like photography, traveling, reading books, cosplaying. I don't know, whatever hobby they're into.
I will say this, right? I think space in a resume, I call it real estate. Real estate in your resume is precious. I really believe that adding hobbies add no value. However, for a young professional, someone fresh out of college who is who has a heavily academic resume, interests and putting things like photography, traveling, that's fine up to a particular age. It doesn't work for you after the age of about 25, right? Because at the age of 25, it's hoped that your career is kind of solidified in terms of having a degree, having a couple years experience, so you're on your way to, your own professional development. But I would say you're just wasting space by putting hobbies and interests in a resume if you're a 40-year-old professional with 20 years experience. Does it add value to your resume to tell your employer that you like photography?
Probably
Doesn't add
not.
any value.
So
Yeah.
I can see that the key that you bring it up over again is value, right? Like the value is going to end up
Mhm.
selling your
Value
personal
is most
brand.
important, yes.
Um, what do you feel about the future? Because I mean, even when I applied to a job before this one, it was my resume first, but then it was also send a video resume, and they asked me to
Yes,
send the
this
video with
is
basically the same information. I guess I mean I didn't really, but do you
this
think
is a
that's the
new
future?
it's a new phenomenon. I have noticed it happening a lot where when you apply for a job, the company says, "Hey, send us a video so we can get to know you," that kind of thing. I just see it as being another layer in terms of the recruitment and selection process. But I always tell people be very mindful of things before you do it because there may be a request in there for particular information or to ask you to say certain things with regards to how you do your job and how you would do something. There's a very fine line between getting to know you, adding a layer to the process, that type of thing, and giving free work. So yes, you must use your own discernment and decide, okay, am I giving my intellectual property for free here, or am I a part of a recruitment selection process that may be slightly rigorous and they just want to get to know me to know if my personality can fit into their corporate culture?
And in the same note, because that's something that happens a lot in the tech world, in the marketing world too. They will ask you for a test, right? Like, yeah, sure, we would like to. So here's a test. How you feel about those tests? Because I hate them. I complain about them in LinkedIn all the time. But like,
I
how?
and I can fully understand hating them. Um, I don't want to use bad words, but the word desperate comes into context here. It really is, it depends on you and how desperate you are. Because, of course, companies can smell your desperation from a mile away. And if you're just willing to give and give and give your intellectual property like that, of course, chances are that you cannot be hired, but your solutions that you give can be used. So it's really up to the person and what they want to give. I personally don't do it. I would do assessments. Yeah, I don't have a problem doing an assessment. But if I believe that your assessment is asking me to give my intellectual property for free, and chances are you may not hire me, then I just would not do the process because I'm not a desperate applicant. But that isn't everybody's reality. Some people are genuinely desperate for a job and would do almost anything to get it. But that's a personal choice. And you can't fault people for what they decide to do personally?
Yeah, no, totally agree with that one. Now let me just
Yeah.
turn it around a little bit, like from the hiring side. I'm sure that
Right.
I mean you've seen. I'm sure you've seen crazy resumes on your table, stuff that there has to be a few things that they're red flags. Something that tells you like you will grab that resume and
Yeah.
just put it away straight away.
Well, I'll say this, right? Your resume should never look like a child did it. It should never look like it was done by an 8-year-old. Because I'll share one thing with you. A resume is a precursor to the quality of work you can produce. So if your resume looks well put together, the font is professional, you didn't overdo your margins on the ends and that kind of thing, then yeah, I'm gonna automatically assume that this is the quality of work you can produce. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. 'Cause I remember seeing people going through resumes like that, like money. You know what I mean? Like no, nope, nope, no.
Mhm.
Oh, this one maybe. So it's I guess
Exactly.
it's really key, and I want to sort of to start closing our conversation is that to go through what you said about the real estate on your resume. So if you have to pick from all this information that is important, right? What do you think will be the key things to remark? Language, just your skills or your previous jobs.
Um, it's important for me to know who you are immediately. So you need to title yourself in a resume. My title is Senior Human Resource and Industrial Relations Professional. That's who I am. That's not what I do at work, but that's who I am professionally, which is two completely different things, right? And that is at the top of my resume. Now, in terms of core HR, my three functional areas are industrial relations, recruitment and selection, and performance management. So these are my three key areas that I am good at, and that's listed at the top of the resume. So as I said, it's just 6 seconds for me to know if I want to meet you or not. So immediately I need to know who you are, what you're good at, what you're bringing to the table. A picture does not achieve that. So you need to state that clearly at the top of your resume.
Cool. And to finish up, we get a lot of startups watching these videos and listening to the podcast, and they go through the hiring process themselves. Right? They hire people, they get hired. So, as if you have to give a quick advice to whoever's listening right now that they're planning to write the resume, what will be that last piece of advice?
My last piece of advice with your resume is please don't use it as a dumping ground for, random information, right? Context is important, relevance is important, value is important. Always keep those words at the forefront of your mind. What value am I bringing to the table? What context what context am I applying to? So I need to alter the language of my resume a little bit. And finally, just make sure that your document is aesthetically pleasing and doesn't look like everybody else's. So I often say keep away from templates, keep away from those online templates, because the key to a resume is standing out. So if you're going to use a template that thousands of people are using, you're not going to stand out. So just be very careful. Just think about it from the perspective of an employer and ask yourself the question, if I read this document, would I call me for an interview? So that's my last piece of advice.
Amazing. Akeem, thank you so much. And hopefully you guys watching or listening learn a few things: simplicity, value. Just make sure that you spend a little time. And if you don't have time, I'm adding Akeem's details on the description of this video in case he will be able to help you.
Yes, I can be reached at akeembranford.com. My website has all my details.
I will definitely add that. Akeem, thank you so much. I hope you keep enjoying Trinidad and Tobago. We are getting into summer here in Poland, so weather's getting better. Take care.
Okay, thank you
very much. Take care, my friend. A pleasure.
Have a great day.
Incoming chat.